Today I'm going to tie a picket pin, one of the first patterns I learned to tie almost 30 years ago. This is tied on a 2x long nymph hook. This is the model 8 from Wholesale Fly Company. I generally tie this in sizes 12 down to 16, and this particular one we're doing today is a size 12. And I'm going to attach some 6/0 black thread to the hook shank, stop it in line with the barb. One of the things I like about tying the picket pin is that I get to use some materials that I don't use often, such as red squirrel for the tail and gray squirrel for the wing. Now this red squirrel, what I like about it, you can see that it's a lot smaller, of course, than the gray, and which means the color patterns are a little smaller. That white frosty tip is a little narrower, and you have the black contrast right next to it. And that's very deadly. Any type of contrast on a fly is always a good thing. So I'm going to pull the fibers or the hairs perpendicular to the tail, and I'll just align those tips a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no need to put them in a hair stack or anything like that, but just pull them up until they're aligned. And after I've trimmed them off, I'm going to set these on the hook shank so that they are a little over one hook gap in length, and I'm going to secure those to the hook shank. Next, I'm going to attach a strand of gold ultra wire. This will be for the ribbing. For the body, I'm just going to use a couple strands of peacock herl, and I trimmed off the tips because if you tie these in by the tips and begin wrapping them, those tips are very brittle and they can break, and that can be a source of frustration sometimes. Once I have those tied in, also when you start with the tips, it creates that narrowest part there near the tail and gives it just a nice natural taper up toward the wing. I'm going to advance this about 2/3 of the way up the hook shank and secure. Alright, next for the hackle, I'm just using this brown hackle. I've had this as well since I was a teenager, and it was very cheap back in the day, and it's not real great stiff hackle for dry flies, but it's perfect for flies like the picket pin because it's a little softer, and in the water it'll have just a little bit more movement. Now you could use just a low grade saddle for this, or you could also use a hen saddle, something that's real soft fibers that are going to move a lot in the water. And I'm just going to open spiral wraps over the body and just work my way back toward the tail. Once I get back here, I'm going to take a couple wraps with the ultra wire just to secure that hackle. And then I'm going to wrap it through the hackle toward the front of the hook. Trying not to catch many of those fibers, but if you do, you can always pick them out with a bodkin. And this just adds some durability to the fly. You could also tie in a hackle near the tail by the tip or so before you tie in the peacock herl, and that would be fine too. Just wrap the peacock herl and then wrap the hackle over top. But I do like this. It's a little bit more durable, plus the gold wire is just a hint of flash. Alright, we're going to prepare our squirrel tail the same way we did the red squirrel. This is the gray squirrel that we're using for the wing, and I'm using approximately 1/3 or 1/4 of a pencil thickness, and I'm pulling that straight up from the tail so that those tips somewhat align. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, once we have our squirrel tail we're using for the wing, I'm going to put this on top of the hook. And some people, they will line it up so that the tips are in line. I'm not really fond of that. I like to make the wing a little bit shorter than the tail. I think it just provides a little bit more realistic profile. I'm not sure how much it matters or if the fish really notice a difference, but you know, I like it better, so I just assume the fish do too. And notice on this fly that I stopped, you know, pretty short of the eye of the hook there. And that's just to allow myself time, some space there to finish off the fly, because once we add the peacock head, it's going to get pretty crowded up front. Alright, I took another 3 strands of peacock herl, and I'm going to tie those in. And then I'm just going to wrap those. I'm going to do a couple wraps on top of each other there. Get started and just create a nice little head. You'll see some of the herl just kind of pushing forward there, and that's okay. Once I have it behind the eye of the hook, I'm going to secure it. And before I even trim it, I'm going to throw in a half hitch or 2. And then I'm going to trim that peacock herl, and then we'll finish it off with a couple turns from the finisher. I like to use my fingernail just to make sure that's nice and tight there. So there's the Picket Pin, and it's kind of a cross between a wet fly and a streamer. And I tend to fish this a variety of ways, whether I'm dead drifting it or swinging it like wet flies, sometimes even stripping it like a streamer. I've caught trout in a variety of different ways of using this fly, and it's become a part of my fly box for 30 years. Thanks for watching.